remembering our fallen heroes this weekend. This is Tom Gresham's Gun Talk, broadcasting nationwide. Have a question? Want to make a comment? Call Tom now at 1-TOM-TALK-GUN. That's 866-825-5486. Or email tom@guntalk.com. Now, here's Tom Gresham.
Glad that you could be with us. Tom Gresham here. By the way, don't forget, last week for you to enter to win this outstanding Trijicon scope, rifle scope that we're giving away, just go to guntalk.com/win, W-I-N, and you can enter for a chance to win that. We'll be pulling a name out of the hat at the end of the month. So, hey, as they say, you can't win if you don't play. So see if you get in there for that. On this Memorial Day weekend, honestly, I cannot think of a better way to recognize, to celebrate the contribution of those who have given everything to this country than to support, protect, defend the Constitution. And in our case, the Second Amendment, fighting for the Second Amendment, speaking up, being part of the Gun Talk Truth Squad. You know, we're the ones that our motto is no lie left unchallenged, because I've always said that a lie that is left unchallenged becomes the truth. If no one speaks out and says, hey, that's not true, then people just believe it. They just hear it over and over again. They hear it. So we leave no lie left unchallenged. That's what the Truth Squad does. We don't shrug. We don't just say, hey, that's just the way it is. Yeah, I heard it on the news, but, you know, what are you going to do? No. Here's what you do. You speak up. You call the news station. You call the newspaper. You talk to the reporter and say, you got hoodwinked. You wouldn't run a press release from the NRA, would you? Well, no. Well, why did you run a press release from the Violence Policy Center? Well, they're an anti-violence group. No, they're a gun control advocacy group, and you ran their press release as though it's a news story. Shame them into doing the right thing. Along those lines, there are people doing this on a state level, working very hard in, well, pretty much all the states. Interestingly enough, sometimes it happened in states where you wouldn't think they would have a problem. Sometimes you'd say, well, what are the problems down south? Well, North Carolina is fighting it right now, and joining me to talk about that is Paul Valone. He's the president of Grassroots North Carolina. Paul, thank you so much for spending some time with us today.
And thank you for having me, Tom.
Absolutely. Well, explain what is going on right now with this bill that's being talked about.
Well, the short answer is we have a Bloomberg problem, but to back up a little bit, we've made some significant inroads in North Carolina in 2011 and 2013. We passed some bills, omnibus gun bills, that expanded our concealed carry, gave us Castle Doctrine, Stand Your Ground, restaurant carry, a whole bunch of other really good stuff. And we have an omnibus bill this time that does does a lot of good things. It would remove obstructions from concealed handgun applications. It would make it easier to apply for and to use Title II weapons, or Class III weapons, if you will, for hunting. And best of all, it would keep politically motivated healthcare providers from prying into whether their patients own guns, and it would repeal our Jim Crow-era pistol purchase permit law, a law that to this day sheriffs use to obstruct people from buying handguns.
So in North Carolina, let's spell that out, because I couldn't believe it when I heard this. In North Carolina, for you to buy a handgun, you have to get the A-OK from your local sheriff, and if he or she doesn't give it to you, you're hosed.
That's exactly right. The law was passed in 1919, a year after Missouri passed the same law, which was a year after race riots in St. Louis. It was originally designed to allow sheriffs to deny gun permits to minorities. And they do that. They can do that using a provision under which the sheriff has to certify that you are of, and I quote, good moral character, whatever that means. Then good moral character meant that you couldn't be a minority. Now good moral character could mean, you contributed to my race for sheriff, or I'm sorry, you supported my opposition. In many cases, we've got sheriffs denying permits because people have told me I took antidepressants in 1985 after the death of my wife, and now the sheriff won't give me a purchase permit. I have another individual who, he's 45 years old right now. At the age of 21, he got an other than honorable discharge from the military because he was trying to track down his wife who ran off on him. And the sheriff will no longer, even though it's not a disqualifying offense under federal or state law, the sheriff won't give him a permit. So,
well, I mean, in this case, actually, the sheriff could do it. The sheriff could say, "Look, I don't like the way you part your hair. You don't get a permit."
That's exactly right. Any reason he wants. So, this bill, House Bill 562, would repeal that measure and do a bunch of other good stuff. And it appeared that the bill was moving. It didn't make, we have a crossover deadline by which it has to pass at least one chamber to remain alive. They actually, although they didn't pass the bill by crossover, they added a fiscal note to it so that it's immune from the crossover and the bill remains alive. Okay, so far so good. That would be before Michael Bloomberg stepped in, the billionaire anti-gun zealot I think we're all too familiar with, and started running about $1 million worth of television spots saying that we were going to, quote, abolish background checks for gun purchases. You talk about the Truth Squad. This is a lie of fairly monumental proportions.
Yeah, for those who don't know, the background check is done on a federal basis. When you buy a gun from a gun store anywhere in the United States of America, there is a background check done unless you have a concealed carry permit in some locations, because you have to have a background check done to get the concealed carry permit. And so, in other words, you still have to have a background check done. So whether or not this thing stays or goes in North Carolina has absolutely nothing to do with the background check.
Actually, it would even improve background checks, because as it stands right now, this purchase permit is a little slip of paper the sheriff issues you after a NICS check, after a computerized background check. The problem is that this slip of paper is good for up to 5 years and is used to bypass the National Instant Check system. So it's entirely plausible somebody could get the purchase permit, then commit a crime, and then use the purchase permit to bypass a computerized background check. If we repeal the law, now the background check will be done at the time and point of sale instead of up to 5 years beforehand.
So this would actually be an improvement. Okay, so you got Bloomberg coming in and running, as he does, what he does, he goes up and buys up all of the availability of commercial time. But you guys are running spots too, right?
We are, actually. We're running a project I hope that other states will begin to adopt. And what we're doing is, of course, Michael Bloomberg he brings in paid staffers and runs what we call AstroTurf grassroots organizations. They look like they're grassroots, but in fact, they're perhaps a couple of dozen paid staffers. Moms Demand Action is one example, Every Town for Gun Safety, Mayors Against Illegal Guns, and we've also seen them distribute hit literature on this bill under the names Moms Rising and the Law Center to Prevent Gun Violence. All of these things are Michael Bloomberg, and all of his funding, and as I say, perhaps 2 dozen staffers and activists. So what we're doing in response...
So we got. Let me jump in here, Paul, because we're going to run short on time here. You've got this spot running, and let me just play what people are hearing there, okay? Hold on a second.
And I'm a North Carolina mother of 2. Using a front group calling itself Moms Demand Action, billionaire Michael Bloomberg is spending a fortune on TV ads in our state to attack House Bill 562, claiming it will abolish background checks on gun purchases. That's not true. Under a leftover Jim Crow law, originally designed to keep minorities from buying guns, sheriffs now issue purchase permits good for up to 5 years, meaning someone could get a permit, then commit a crime, and then use that permit to bypass a computerized background check. Under House Bill 562, background checks would be done at the time of sale, not 5 years beforehand. Does that sound like abolishing anything to you? Call your state legislators and tell them House Bill 562 is good for gun owners and bad for criminals. I'm a North Carolina mom, and Michael Bloomberg doesn't speak for me.
Paid for by Grassroots North Carolina. For details, check grnc.org. That's grnc.org.
Okay, so Paul, so this is running now, but how do you fight $1 million of ad buy?
What we do is we fight it with real grassroots support. We direct tens of thousands of phone calls and emails into our legislature, basically giving that message: Michael Bloomberg doesn't speak for me. And that's the message we want other states to begin adopting as well, and running that to their state legislatures in these states where Bloomberg is trying to pass so-called universal background check initiatives.
All right, if somebody wants to help out with what you're doing or wants to find out more about it so they can import it into their state, what's the best way to get on board?
Please do. We've set up a resource center, and it's our website at GRNC, like Grassroots North Carolina, grnc.org.
All right, grnc.org, and you can take a look. They've got the resource center for HB 562 and lots of other information. Paul, you're doing great work over there. I wish you luck with it. And I tell you, battling the money, that's a tough thing to do, my friend.
Well, thank you, sir. I appreciate the help and opportunity.
Absolutely. You take care. All right, open lines now, 866-TALK-GUN. I'll be looking at some books that you could buy for gun rights if you got a suggestion. If you're thinking about buying a gun, by all means, give us a call. We'll help you out there. And if you have a range report, man, do I love to get those. I don't even care if it's ammo, scopes, optics, range bag, just a doohickey. In fact, I'll have a report for you on a doohickey I found. It's a kit, a gun kit that you can just carry around in your pocket. It is so cool for taking care of your guns. We'll be right back with more Gun Talk.
Black Hills. There's nothing like it on Earth. The kind of place where characters become legends. Wild Bill Hickok, Crazy Horse, Calamity Jane. Pick any part of the world and you'll find people go there to make it their own. But this is where people come to get made. This is the place that made the people who make the best ammo on Earth. Black Hills Ammunition.
The XDM 3.8 Compact from Springfield Armory is 2 guns in 1. Use as your concealed carry gun with a compact magazine and use the extended magazine for home defense. Carry 13 rounds of 9mm in the compact magazine and a whopping 19 rounds in the extended magazine. To see the entire family of Springfield Armory XDM pistols, go to SpringfieldArmory.com. That's SpringfieldArmory.com.
Hi, I'm Tom Gresham. For more than 40 years, I've been watching an environmental disaster in my backyard, and it actually impacts all sportsmen in America. I'm talking about the massive loss of land on the Louisiana coastline. The U.S. Geological Survey said the swamps and marshes of coastal Louisiana are among the nation's most fragile and valuable wetlands. That land is disappearing. The Mississippi River Delta hosts as many as 10 million ducks and geese every winter. These are birds which migrate northward through the states, all the way to Canada. The wetlands of the Delta support some of America's best fresh and saltwater fishing. And here's the deal. The wetlands of the Mississippi River Delta are disappearing at a rate of 1 football field every hour. 1 football field every hour. Gone. We can reconnect the river with its wetlands and restore the Delta, but we need your help. Please visit vanishingparadise.org. That's vanishingparadise.org.
Ammo can be expensive and hard to find. No problem. Train at home with the Score Time Laser Trainer Target from Laserlite. Use the Trigger Time Laser Pistol and you can train at home with scoring, timing, and shot display. No matter the weather or ammo availability, you can train at home and have fun with this laser training system from Laserlite. To see more, go to laserlite.com. That's laserlyte.com.
Hi, back with you. Tom Gresham here. 866-TALK-GUN is the magic number. You can shoot me an email, but honestly, it's more fun if you call in and we get to just shoot the breeze about guns and ammo and scopes and things. I'll give you a little range report in just a minute on a neat gun kit, pocket gun kit that I found last week. But first, we got on line 3, Tyler is out of Houston, Texas, with a range report for us. Hey, Tyler.
Mr. Tom, how you doing today?
I'm good. What did you take out and shoot?
I bought a Ruger SR22 from my local gun store, Carter Country, down here in Houston about a month ago. And with all this rain, I had hardly had any chance to shoot it. But from what I've shot, it is just a great little gun. So nice. It feels so good in the hand, just all intuitive. I love the thing. My girlfriend likes it too. She's a lefty. It's ambidextrous. Works great for her. No recoil. She's small. It's just a great little gun.
Are you a Ruger guy? Because I know some people like a particular brand of gun. Do you have other Rugers?
I have a Ruger SR9C, Ruger M77 30-06, a Ruger Mini 14, and I had an LCP. I do have a lot of Rugers. I just kind of like them, like you say. I could tell.
Oh, that SR9C, that's a sleeper, isn't it? That is a great pistol.
I mean, it has the best trigger of any standard compact pistol in that category and price range that I felt, hands down. It is such a nice little gun. And
it's also so
really
thin.
People that have them. It is. It carries really well. It's my carry gun. I actually just bought an HK P2000 about a week ago, and I like the Ruger the way it carries better than that HK, and it was twice the price.
Yep. All right, so I see a note here. You're wanting somebody to, what do you want? Somebody to bring out the Remington 600 Mohawk again? What are you looking for here?
I just like the way that gun looks, the size, the way that bolt kind of dog legs around, and I was wondering if maybe Davidson's could work out an exclusive with Remington to bring it back, in a few calibers for those people that, it's almost got a cult-like following. And I'm sure that they would sell a bunch of them if they'd bring it back in the original configuration. They did a kind of a African-style big caliber. They call it the 600, but it doesn't have that dog-leg bolt. And it's just not the same to me.
It's not the same. The old Mohawk 600, we had 4 of them. We had a 243, a 6mm. I think we had 5 because we had a 6.5 Remington Magnum, and a 308, and a 350 Remington Magnum. Very cool bolt-action rifles. All right, I don't know if anybody's going to bring that out, but I'll put in a word for you. But you know what I hear, and I'm so excited about it, there's a fellow in Baton Rouge, and I hear it's going to happen soon, RSN, real soon now. He is working on bringing back the Winchester Model 88 lever action and the Winchester Model 100 semi-auto in 308, 243, probably 7mm08, some others. So as soon as I have absolute confirmation that that's going to happen, I will get the word out to everybody. But that's going to be a really neat retro, and it was one of the prettiest Great Line semi-auto centerfire rifles that's ever been on the market, I think. Tyler, I appreciate your call. Matthew's on too. He's out of Metairie, Louisiana. Matthew, you got some suggestions for other books for people?
Yeah, 2 that are my go-to books for allaying people's fears about guns and exposing the lies of gun control. It's actually a subtitle. One is Glenn Beck's book, Control, the run-on paragraph book, but it's still got all the basics in there. It's written in a very easy-to-understand style. It's just the punctuation will make you crazed. Okay. The other is More Guns, Less Crime by our buddy John Lott.
Yes. And it is a great book. More Guns, Less Crime is More Guns, Less Crime is a great book. Another one I would throw out there, because it helped, maybe it's a follow-on book. It's another John Lott book that's not as well known, but it helps people understand why they feel the way they do. And he wrote a book called The Bias Against Guns, Why Everything You Know About Guns is Wrong. And it's all about the media bias and how they twist the news. And so that can help people understand. They say, well, I have this feeling about guns that they're always used in crime and they're never used to help people. And I'll go, yeah, read this book and you'll understand why. It's because that's what you've been told for years. It's not true. And the media goes out of its way to cover, with big air quotes around cover, to report this in this way. Now, I'm not saying it's a conspiracy. I'm not saying they're working together, but it is absolutely calculated on an individual basis of we're not going to report good news on guns, and we are going to report everything bad about guns. That is an absolute calculation. It's actually stated policy at some news outlets. So I know of reporters who've said, look, we're just simply not allowed to say anything good about guns. And so what we do is if we're invited to a place where there might be some good news about it, we don't go. So, Matthew, I appreciate the call. I actually had a U.S. Senator tell me, he says, look, he said, if I call a press conference and it's to say something good about guns, they won't come. They just won't show up. And so there won't be any coverage. And that's why the public has the view it does. It's how you shape public opinion, is you feed them a constant barrage of lies. It's what the Truth Squad is all about. It's trying to offset that. And it's why I think Michael Bloomberg is the most dangerous person in America when it comes to usurping our civil rights. I think he is the ultimate anti-civil rights person because he's using his billions of dollars to convince the public of something that is simply not true. He lies with his dollars and is moving the country, at least state by state, away from the Second Amendment, away from the Constitution, away from civil rights. And he is making people feel as though we'll be safer if the government protects us, if the government has a monopoly on force. Think about that. Are you safer when the government has the monopoly on force? As you think about history, as you think about global history in countries around the world, what places have been safer because only the government had guns, where the government had a monopoly on force? Cambodia? Russia? Germany? I can't find one. Am I thinking about it? I don't think it exists. That's what the Truth Squad's all about. It's pointing these things out. So, yes, More Guns, Less Crime, a great book by John Lott, but also The Bias Against Guns helps you understand and explain to people why they have these ideas in their head that they do. Get on board, get the message out. You can be the change.
You're listening to a special Memorial Day weekend edition of Gun Talk.
All right, welcome back to Gun Talk. Tom Gresham here. If you'd like to join us, just call us. 866-TALK-GUN. Get you in here. Wally has done that. He's on 4, calling out of Shreveport, Louisiana. Hello, Wally.
Hi. Thank you for taking my call.
Sure.
Okay. First of all, I want to say that I am in full favor of the Second Amendment. But at one time, me personally, I disagreed with the NRA about the AK-47. Me personally, I find that to be too much firepower for home defense. But then I realized that if you try to outlaw that, you're just opening the door for government to try to outlaw other weapons. So I've changed my viewpoint on the AK-47. I still own one personally, but don't try and take away our guns like President Obama tried to outlaw certain ammunition.
Exactly. And of course, the interesting part, I love what you're saying here because it's a great example of us saying, okay, I'm not particularly interested personally in owning that kind of gun, whatever it happens to be. An AK-47. All right, an AK-47 shoots a very low-powered 30 caliber round. It's a little bit weaker than a 30-30 in a semi-auto rifle, which is no big deal. It's not powerful. It's not firepower. It's just a kind of a wimpy little semi-automatic gun with a bad reputation. And that's all it is. And so the media played it up. But to your credit, your first reaction was, well, I don't know what that's all about. And then you look at it and say, wait a minute. If they can outlaw that, then they can outlaw anything. You cannot give them anything in hopes that it's going to make them satisfied, because they're never satisfied, are they, Wally?
They're not. And I don't know what this has anything to do with your program today or not, but President Obama said something about the reason why there's so much problems with the police department is officer presence. Okay, I majored in law enforcement at a junior college. Now I have a associate degree in law enforcement, and there's 5 levels of force, and one of them, is officer presence. You're not going to commit a crime if you know there's a policeman standing right there. Yeah, it sounded like to me, the impression I got was the president wants to do away with, an officer standing there watching.
Yeah, I hear what you're saying, and I'm there with you, Wally. Look, I appreciate the call. Yeah, of course, now you got to remember this is the same president who just recently said that while ISIS is beheading people by the hundreds, raping people by the hundreds, killing Christians by the thousands, setting fire to people while they are alive, and President Obama says the greatest threat, the greatest challenge to our military is global warming. Really? That's what our military needs to be concerned with, is global warming, climate change. Climate change is our biggest challenge for our military. Not people who are murdering others by the thousands, raping them, setting on fire, cutting their heads off, and exporting their terror around the world, including to the United States. No, none of that. Climate change. Is he an idiot? Or is he that driven? Is he just that driven? That's really the question. Hey, Wally, I appreciate the call. Jim is on line 3. He is in Kansas. Hey, Jim, how are you?
Good. How are you?
Good. What's up?
Well, I was wondering, you talk about a lot of different handguns, and I know certain manufacturers support you or advertise with you, but you never seem to mention Glocks. And I was wondering what you had against them.
Well, I do talk about Glocks occasionally, but I will tell you, I'm just not a Glock guy. I've owned Glock. I mean, I own a Glock. I own 2 Glocks now, come to think of it. I've got an old 17, and I've got the Model 42. I thought the 42 was cute, and I bought it, and I don't know why, but it was cute, so I bought it. The 17 was fine in its time, which was 30-plus years ago, but I just think it feels like a block to me. I have small hands. I have short fingers, and I have traditionally had trouble getting my hands around a Glock. I think the newer generation of striker-fired guns from any number of companies, Springfield, Smith, Ruger, whomever, they're trimmer, they feel better to me, they shoot better. I just like them better. Now, it doesn't mean that Glock's not a good gun. Clearly it is. Gazillions of people own Glocks. And they were the first, I think they were the first real polymer gun out there, and a lot of folks have copied and improved on them, but I don't dislike them. I just, they don't work for me as well as some of the other guns, and that's probably just a matter of the size of my hands. I take it you're a Glock guy.
Well, have you tried the single stack instead of a double stack?
I actually have, and the single stacks obviously work quite well. Those single stacks work fine for me. And it's funny because it's funny you mention that. I don't know if you've heard, but I sometimes carry single stacks, but I have moved myself back to double stack guns simply because I think it is more likely now than in the past that you may need more rounds than a single stack has. And so I carry a double stack 9 plus a second magazine for a double stack with me at all times. That's just the way I carry, generally speaking. So now I'm back to trying to find the slimmest double stack gun out there. And look, Glock will have, they'll come out with something. Their Gen 3s, Gen 4s are better. It's just, like I said, just my personal preference. And I don't say anything negative about them. I just you don't hear me talk about shooting them much because I don't shoot them much. That's pretty much it. So that's about all I got to say on that one, as Forrest Gump said. Thanks, Jim. I appreciate that. Let's see. Oh, shoot. I'm sitting here yammering on. Let's do this.
The Smith & Wesson Bodyguards. Carry more comfortably, walk more confidently. When it comes to personal protection, nothing beats a Bodyguard. Choose the lightweight, compact, and concealable Bodyguard 380 pistol or the Bodyguard 38 revolver, both with a built-in laser sight. The Smith & Wesson Bodyguards. Carry more comfortably, walk more confidently.
Are you looking for a place to shoot? The National Shooting Sports Foundation has a great website called wheretoshoot.org. It's the largest database of shooting ranges on the internet. It's also a great resource for shooters where you can find video tips, printable targets, and a lot more. Find it online at wheretoshoot.org. And while you're there, download their free iPhone app. That's wheretoshoot.org.
The Ruger American Rifle is a 100% American-made firearm that offers outstanding performance at a great price. Available in standard size and compact models, it features power-bending integral bedding blocks, a Ruger Marksman adjustable trigger, a flush-fit 4-round rotary magazine, and a 3-lug bolt with 70-degree throw. Compact models feature a shorter length of pull and a shorter barrel for a reduction in overall length of more than 5 inches. The Ruger American Rifle, another rugged, reliable firearm from Ruger.
In the field or on the range, you need a trigger you can trust. For over 60 years, Timney triggers have been trusted by hunters and shooters everywhere. A Timney trigger could mean the difference between a great shot and a miss. Timney triggers are proudly made in the USA and come with a lifetime warranty. To order, go to timneytriggers.com. That's TIMNEY triggers.com.
All right, here's one you probably did not hear this week when you're hearing all of the reports about the quadruple murder in the Washington, D.C. area. The Savopoulos, his wife, his 10-year-old son, and a housekeeper were brutally murdered this week inside their $4.5 million home in an exclusive Washington, D.C. neighborhood. Yeah. Now, pretty much we know now that they were held hostage. They were stabbed, bludgeoned to death. The child was burned, tortured, while these evil people went and got money. Now, what you haven't heard, though, is that Savopoulos and his company or strong financial supporters of U.S. Representative Chris Van Hollen from Maryland, Democrat from Maryland, a strong proponent of gun control. He's rated 100% by the Brady Bunch and the Coalition to Stop Gun Violence and was given failing grades by both the GOA and the NRA. Well, as my buddy Jeff said, nobody used guns in this incident, so maybe they're happy with that, other than the butchering. On the other hand, there are other things, other ways that things go. Let me find this. I got to find this story. Yeah, this is Jackson, Mississippi. Love this one. Again, this Jeff, I appreciate this. Early last Saturday morning, a local punk named Edwin Robinson and another hood accosted, robbed, and kidnapped a local man, a doctor, who was loading gear into his truck in his driveway. They took the doctor captive at gunpoint, forced him to open the safe. Then they had him drive his truck to the ATM and withdraw a large amount of money. They also mentioned, and there's where it got really bad, they also mentioned some evil intentions concerning his wife, who was back home. When they stopped, they told him to get out of the vehicle. Just turns out, though, that the doctor is a USPSA shooter He had been loading up his truck to go to the match that day. He managed to grab a pistol from the driver's door as he exited the truck, and as one person said, he shot the blank out of this bad guy. Shot him and killed Robinson. The other guy ran off. He's been captured. Question is, why wasn't the good doctor wearing his gun? I know you're going to the range. I get it. But stuff happens. If you knew when it was going to happen, you wouldn't go there. Wear it, carry it, carry it, carry it, carry it always. Carry it always. Can I say that again? Carry your gun always. And continue to get training all the time. Okay? Let's see here. I want to talk to line 1, Crystal, Farmerville, Louisiana. Hey, Crystal.
Hey, how are you?
I'm good. What's up?
I have a comment. It really just reiterates your point about government and gun control, but it's just a little bit of a different illustration for people. Mm-hmm. I always tell people, think about how the outcome of the Holocaust would have been changed if the Jewish people in Austria, Poland, and Germany had been armed, if they'd had a Second Amendment right like we do. I'm pretty sure they're not going to come make all the Baptists in my town get on a train and go a few hundred miles away from home, at least not without a fight. They're not. By the same token, I wonder how the Christians in Syria and Iraq would fare right now if they were well armed against ISIS. So it's just another way to think about it. When people think it's never going to happen in our country, I'm sure people in Germany thought the same way, but look what happened.
That's a good point. One of the first things that Hitler and the Nazis did was they had registration list of guns. They knew exactly who owned every gun, and they went around and confiscated them. You cannot confiscate guns until you register guns. The two are inexorably linked. So when anybody says we need to register guns, you have to think there's only one reason for registering guns. Throughout history, there's only one reason, and that is to facilitate and enable the subsequent confiscation of guns. There's no other reason. Make a great point there. I appreciate the call, Crystal. Chris is on line 4 out of Kansas. Chris, you're on Gun Talk.
How's it going?
Great. What'd you shoot?
Well, actually, I had found a 45 long Colt Henry Big Boy.
Nice.
And loved the rifle. I had experience with the Henry before, except in 22. A buddy of mine had that and shot it growing up, and I really honestly never thought about a large caliber pistol and a rifle before, but I tell you what, it's pretty impressive. I'm a big fan.
It's fun, too. It's just a lot of fun to shoot.
It's ridiculous. I just can't load enough ammo for it.
That is like the best range report ever. It's ridiculous. I love that. Yeah. Now, the other thing is the Anthony Imperato over at Henry, he just makes good guns. Man, they're just doing a great job. And so if you're looking for a lever action, cowboy style gun, you just can't do any better right now than the Henry lineup. And the Henry Big Boy, the Yellow Boy, all of those were very nice. And a lever action rifle in a handgun caliber is so much fun. You don't get much recoil out of it in a rifle. Actually hits pretty hard. It'd be an excellent hunting rig. A 45 Colt in one of those, that'd be a real honest 100, almost 150-yard deer cartridge. And that would be a bunch of fun. Hey, don't go far. We'll be back in just a minute with more Gun Talk. In the meantime, check it out, guntalk.com. And also on YouTube, look for our channel there where we have hundreds and hundreds of videos. Just look for Gun Talk on YouTube. We'll be right back.
Just because we're wrapping up on the air doesn't mean we're done talking about guns. Stick around for the after show. It's our podcast-only version designed to include all the stuff we simply couldn't fit into a regular show. Call in now at 1-TOM-TALK-GUN. Now, back to Tom.
All right, just thinking about Memorial Day weekend, And some people are going to be out doing some shooting, and that's a great thing. Just, again, as always, watch that muzzle. Be aware of it, where it's pointed at all times. Be aware of what other people are doing. Be alert. Be aware. Situational awareness. Of course, yes. Jim points out, no alcohol, clearly. Should go without saying, but I guess it has to go said. Yes, you don't drink while you're shooting. When the guns are put up and away, if you want to have an adult beverage, fine. But our deal is real simple. When you shoot with me or I shoot with you or I go hunting with you, the moment anybody takes a drink, they're done for the day. No more shooting, no more guns, you're done. Your choice. I'm not being judgmental. I'm just saying, if you want to have a beer, that's great. But now you're on beer time and you're not on gun time. The gun's got to be put away or I'm going to be gone. That's pretty simple. But invite somebody to go with you. If you're going to go out and do a little shooting, take somebody with you. Take your kids out. I have just been so impressed with kids who are competitive shooters. We were around a bunch of them at the Bianchi Cup this week in Columbia, Missouri. They're just, well, they behave as adults. They are responsible. They look at you in the eye. They hold out their hand. They shake your hand. Now, they're still, youngsters or teenagers. And when they're with each other, they're having a good time. But they are, as they say, mature beyond their years, especially compared to a lot of youngsters you see these days. I took note of all of the former military folks who were there shooting, like their guns, shoot their guns. A number of them were disabled in some form or fashion, out there shooting, competing, getting serious about it. And on the topic of Memorial Day, those who went to foreign places and died or were injured, lost a limb, lost their eyesight, ended up in wheelchairs. Who would do that for you? Who would say, Mrs. Jones, I know that you can't go do this. I will go over there and fight those people. I will take care of those bad people. I know that there's a village over there where people are raping young girls. We'll go over there and put a stop to that. I know that there was an earthquake. We will airlift supplies in. Who does that? The U.S. military does that. These young men and women go and do that. If you have a youngster in your life, you might want to consider encouraging some time in the military. Wow, what a maker of young people and getting them ready for life. Who does that for you? Who else will say, I will go where there is harm. I will go where there are very bad people. And I will put myself between them and you. That's what our military does. We kind of tend to not think about those things. We forget that, that's what they do. And they put themselves in harm's way, and sometimes they get hurt, and sometimes they don't come back. So for those who went, thank you. For those who didn't come back, the ultimate thank you. For those who came back injured, damaged, we cannot thank you enough. For the families, you're in our thoughts, you're in our prayers. If you get a chance, if you see a veteran out there, go up, shake his hand, shake her hand. Just a simple thanks. That's all. Not a big deal. Just thanks. Appreciate that. If you're a veteran, let me thank you. Take a moment. Remember those. We take care of each other, and they take care of us. Thank you so much. We'll see you next time.